Hi everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce myself. I'm Raghu, Assistant Professor of English from School of Sciences and Humanities, SR University, which is located in Warangal, Telangana. So I have already mentioned in the previous lectures, I would like to prepare the series of lectures on Indian knowledge system. In that process, I have already completed 2 video lessons. So first, let us recapitulate them. After that, we will move on to the topic number 5. Lesson number 1, the basic view of Indian knowledge system. Let us recapitulate briefly about it. So, under the canopy of lesson number 1, we had a discussion on 4 important points. What is IKS? What are the key features of IKS? What kind of different sources of knowledge we have during the ancient times? And what are the significant contributions of ancestors in ancient India? So let us have a brief discussion on these 4 points. What is IKS? The knowledge and the wisdom which has been developed in the ancient times is called Indian knowledge system. It is the responsibility of every Indian citizen to have a basic idea about ancient knowledge. What are the key features of Indian knowledge system? Number 1, holistic. Our ancestors firmly believed that everything in this universe is interrelated and interconnected. Either it is species on the earth, humans, animals, nature, universe, everything is interconnected and interrelated. The best example is nothing but the trees gives us oxygen, which helps us to survive, whereas the humans release carbon dioxide, which is essential for trees to survive. In such a way, everything in this universe is interrelated and interconnected. That was the belief of ancient people, which we call it as holistic approach. And the second important feature of IKS is practical and experiential learning. What does it mean by that? In regard of ancient education is concerned, our ancestors, they don't believe much on rote memorization, okay, or by hearting. Rather, they gave utmost priority for practical oriented learning, hands on approach, experimental learning, learning by doing. They believe that either it is farming or it's medicine, whatever the field it is, they encourage the sishyas or students to learn something by doing. That is one of the significant features of IKS. And the third significant feature of IKS is ethical in regard of education is concerned. Our ancestors firmly believed that education is a manifestation of attitude. So in the process of giving some knowledge to the students, they give utmost priority in inducing ethical values and moral values to the students. So they make them to learn how to behave with the elders, teachers, how to behave in the society. They gave utmost priority for ethical values. That is another important feature of IKS in regard of education is concerned. And the last feature of IKS, significant feature of IKS is it is nature friendly. They love nature, they love to live with nature, they protect the nature. In that process, they have developed some small groves also, that is nothing but small forests, and which were treated as god and goddess in the ancient times. In such a way, they gave utmost priority for forests, okay, and the trees. They never want to cut the trees. They respect the nature. They love to live with the order of the nature. And what are the different sources of knowledge they have? You all know that ancient India is the repository of knowledge. There are 4 sources, significant and remarkable sources they have. One is Vedas, second one is Upanishads, and third one is Puranas, and fourth one is epics. These are all the different sources of knowledge which teach morals, ethical values, and different moral stories and mythological stories, okay, from epics and all. And what are the significant contributions of our ancestors to ancient India, and which is the base for modern civilization too? If you take health and fitness, they encouraged yoga. They firmly believe that healthy body gives healthy mind. So that is why they give utmost priority for healthy body by doing yogasanas during the time. And not only that, they have given a notable contribution to mathematics and physical sciences too. One of the best examples is nothing but zero, which was invented by Aryabhatta during the time. Without the zero, we cannot imagine mathematics too. And they have given significant contributions even to astronomy. Okay, they have proposed two theories such as geocentric theory and heliocentric theory. According to geocentric theory, Earth was the center of the universe. All the planets were revolving around the Earth, including Sun. And it was the belief of ancients for many centuries, actually, thousands of years too. But later, proving it wrong, another theory came to existence in the ancient times that is called heliocentric theory. According to that, Sun is the center of the universe. Okay, all the planets, including the Earth, revolve around the Sun. The same theory, even now in the modern civilization, we are believing it, and which is the base for Indian space research too. In such a way, they have given significant contributions and remarkable contributions to the astronomy or space research years of ago, and which is the base for modern space research too. Not only that, they started trading, okay, and they export gold to the foreign countries. In addition to that, they have done the trading by using coins also, copper coins as well as silver coins. And by taking, we adopted, the modern civilization has adopted it in the form of a currency too, for doing trading and all. So in such a way, they have given very good and notable contributions to the modern civilization. And the modern civilization has built on the roots of the ancient civilization, that everyone has to understand it. Lesson number 2, which is focused on modes of knowledge transmission. So what are the different modes of knowledge transmission we have? The first one is Guru Sishya Parampara. How the knowledge is transferred from one generation to other generation, or one group to other group, or one person to other person. That is through Guru Sishya Parampara, learning from a teacher. That means if the students would like to learn something from the gurus, they go to Gurukulas, request the gurus to learn from them. If the gurus have accepted their request, they have to be there in Gurukulas along with the gurus and they learn from them. Okay, it is one of the significant ways of knowledge transmission in the ancient times. And the second one is learning by listening. Our ancestors firmly believed that through songs and chantings, the knowledge can be remembered for a long time. So that is why whatever the precious knowledge they have, they try to convey that knowledge in the form of oral songs. One of the best examples are nothing but Harikadas. The group of people gather in one particular place. All the mythological stories and stories of Puranas actually would be narrated in the form of Harikadas actually. Because it would register in the minds of the people for a long time. That is the second method for knowledge transmission in the ancient times. Learning by writing manuscripts. Whatever the precious knowledge they have in the ancient times, they keep it in the form of a writing for the future generations, in the form of manuscripts. They wrote all their knowledge on the palm leaves. And the fourth one is performing arts as learning. Not only in the oral tradition or written tradition, they convey the information or the knowledge by using arts in the form of dance forms, singing, dramas, and all. Because you know that if something is there in the form of a visual impact and it would register for a long time, people cannot forget it for a long time. You know that very well, actually. If you watch it like a movie, we cannot forget that movie for a long time, the story of the movie. In such a way, the knowledge, ancient knowledge was conveyed in the form of dance, in the form of songs, in the form of plays. And the fifth one, debate. The gurus used to conduct the debates among sishyas actually on different topics. so that it is an opportunity to assess their logical thinking and critical thinking. In addition to that, each Sishya is going to share their knowledge to each other. And the next one is observation and imitation is one of the other ways of knowledge transmission. The best example is nothing but the life of Ekalavya. When Dronacharya rejected to teach him actually with lot of commitment and dedication, by observing from a long distance or a far distance, he has learned archery from Dronacharya while he was teaching to some other students. And he became as an expert in archery. So in such a way, observation and imitation act like some other tools of knowledge transmission in the ancient times. Pilgrimages and traveling. People used to travel to the different pilgrim spots actually, so that they can share their knowledge and they can share their culture. Not only that, there was a tradition in Gurukulas actually. One Gurukula students would go to the other Gurukula students and they have an interaction with the students over there, so that the students can share their knowledge to each other, okay, with the help of the traveling. And community-based learning. In the villages, the elderly personalities and the village leaders, they gather the people at the time of special occasions like festivals, and they perform rituals and all and explain the importance of rituals, because that information has been carried out to the other generations, the next generations too. That is why we are able to perform the pujas individually at home, even in the modern civilization too. Symbolism and visual representation. Temples are the best examples for them. The lifestyle of the ancient people, the knowledge of the ancient people, everything was carved on the walls of the temples, which was preserved in the form of books permanently on the walls of the temples. Even now, the ancient temples, if you observe carefully, lot of knowledge and information was there on the walls of the temple. The credit must be given to our ancestors. Mnemonic techniques actually, what is that? Drilling through rhymes. If they want to convey some morals to the students, actually, they make the students to drill the rhymes. And through that, they convey the morals. The best example is nothing but an English rhyme. Johnny, Johnny is papa, eating sugar, no papa. It is suggesting that eating sugar too much is not good for health. That is the way, through rhymes, interesting rhymes and poetic rhymes, they convey some morals to the students. And even our English people also has adopted the same. That was the credit of our ancient India. And lesson number 3, which is focus on Vedic corpus and the foundations of Indian wisdom. In this lesson, we have a discussion on what is Vedic corpus. Vedic corpus includes 4 Vedas. All the knowledge and wisdom of ancient people have been preserved in the form of 4 important books, which we call them as Vedas. What are the 4 Vedas we have? Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda. Every Veda has its own significance. Rig Veda. What is the significance of Rig Veda? It is a book of hymns or songs, the lyrical songs, which were written thousands of years ago, which talks about universe, nature, and how to lead a good life. And Yajurva Veda, it is a book of rituals and prayers. On the time of occasions and yajnas, how to perform the prayers or how to perform the pujas in a step-by-step process. What are the mantras we have to use? Everything was explained in detail in a second Veda called Yajurveda. And the next one is Samaveda. What does it mean by Samaveda? Samaveda is nothing but there is a link between Rigveda and Samaveda. Rigveda is a book of lyrical songs, whereas Samaveda, whatever the lyrical songs were there in Rigveda were converted into prayer songs by adding music to that. It is almost like movie songs. For example, the lyricist will be there and he would write the lyrics. And what is the responsibility of a music director? Adding music to that, he will make it like a melodious song. In such a way, whatever the lyrics were there in Rigveda, which were converted into prayer song in Samaveda by adding music to that. And those songs were used at the time of rituals and pujas. And the last one is Atharva Veda. It is almost like a rule book of how to live daily in a right way. When to wake up, when to sleep, what kind of food we have to eat, Okay, how to lead a happy and healthy life, how to lead a peaceful life, okay, and how to follow order of the nature. All these things have been guided properly by Atharva Veda. And lesson number 4, with the title Exploring Vedangas and Upavedas. Under the canopy of lesson number 4, we have a discussion on 3 important points. One is, what is the relationship among Vedas, Vedangas, and Upavedas? And a detailed discussion on Vedangas and Upavedas. What is the relation? Vedas, you know very well actually. It is nothing but the knowledge and the wisdom which was developed in the ancient times. We call it as Vedas, which was preserved in the form of 4 important books, such as Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajurva Veda, and Atharva Veda. But what are Vedangas? Vedangas are the 6 tools which will help us to understand the information in Vedas effectively. In the process of reading Vedas, if you would like to understand the information and the knowledge in the Vedas, we have to rely on 6 tools, and those 6 tools are addressed as Vedangas. For example, if you would like to learn English language, in the process of learning English language, we have to learn the pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, sentence structures. Similarly, like that, if we want to understand the information in Vedas, we have to rely on 6 important tools, and those tools are called Vedangas. Siksha, which means phonetics, which helps us to pronounce the words correctly in Vedas. Vyakarana, grammar, which helps us to use the language in Vedas correctly. Nirukta, etymology, to understand the meanings of the words in Vedas. Chandas, prosody, to understand the poetic style and poetic lines. And Kalpa, rituals, the rules of rituals, we need to understand it. And Jyotisha, it is something about astronomy and astrology, which talks about time. So all these 6 tools help us to understand the information of Vedas effectively. So once if you understood the concept of Vedas, whatever we have learned from Vedas, that we need to apply practically in the real-time situations. And we need to enhance the skills on different subjects. And that skill enhancement through practice is called Upavedas. So what kind of skills the students supposed to develop? Ayurveda, the science of health and medicine. How to treat the patient, what kind of problems they have. According to the problems, they are going to give the medicines. It is a skill they need to develop. Dhanurveda, the skill of archery and sword fight, which is useful in the warfare. And they need to enhance the skill. Gandharva Veda, it is something about music, dance, and arts. How to play flute, how to play tabla, and how to perform the dance, how to make the arts. All these things they are going to learn. And Sthapatya Veda, it means it is a skill of architecture and engineering. Our ancestors are the intellectuals of great architectures. And whatever the architecture they have made in the ancient times, even after the thousands of years also, okay, they are the replicas of perfection. And they were not even damaged. Such a kind of great architecture we had in the ancient times. So these are the 4 lessons. We had a discussion in the previous 4 videos. Now let us move on to the lesson number 5. Classical Indian philosophical schools, an overview. So what are the different schools we have in ancient times? Each school has a specific purpose. So how many schools we have in the ancient times? Okay, what kind of knowledge, okay, they have transferred to the students? All these things will have a detailed discussion under lesson number 5. So let's see what are the 6 classical Indian philosophical schools we have in the ancient times. The ancestors have proposed 6 schools in ancient times, and which are orthodox schools and which were addressed as Astikas. What were the 6 schools proposed by our ancestors in the ancient times? One is Navya school. It is a school of logic and reasoning. The second one is Vaisheshika school. It is a school of atomism and science. And the third one is Samkhya. It is a school of dualism and creation. Fourth one is yoga. It is a school of discipline and liberation. Fifth one, Purva Mimamsa. It is a school of rituals and dharma. And sixth one, Vedanta. It is a school of metaphysics and ultimate truth. Every school has its own significant value, its own contribution. Let's have a detailed discussion about each school now. First one is Navya school. It is a school of logic and reasoning. Long ago, there was a sage Gautama who establishes this school, and it teaches the students the different ways of identifying the truth. For example, there was a crime. So the school suggests what are the different methods and ways we need to follow to find the truth. That's the reason the school is named as School of Logic and Reasoning. The Navya school says there are 4 different ways we need to follow to identify the truth when there was a crime, and which were addressed as pramanas. What are the 4 pramanas proposed by Navya school to identify the truth? The first one is pratyaksha, which means perception. Knowing by seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, smelling it yourself. That means by relying on 5 senses, you need to identify the truth. For example, you know the mango is sweet because you taste it. How did you come to that conclusion? Because you ate mango. You know the taste of the mango. So you already taste it so that you can come to the conclusion that it is a mango. So relying on 5 senses is one of the ways of identifying the truth when something has been happened. And second one, anumana, guessing from clues, inferences. For example, there was a crime. You need to look for clues, the clues which will help us to guess the reality and truth behind it. For example, there was a smoke on the hill. So what is the clue here? Smoke is a clue. It is a clue for what? There is a smoke. That means there might be a fire. So you come to the conclusion that there is a fire because there is a smoke. The smoke is acting as a clue. So you are going to guess what happened there. That is called anumana. Third one is upamana, which is nothing but comparing something with your previous knowledge. Example, someone says a zebra is like a horse. Why someone says that a zebra is like a horse? Because you know horse, how it is. That's why he was comparing zebra with the hearts. It also looks like hearts. For a better understanding, he has also mentioned that it has black and white stripes so that you can relate it with the previous knowledge. Because you know what is hearts, and he was describing the zebra, it also looks like a hearts, but it has white and black stripes so that you can relate it like a hearts. So you are trying to compare with your previous knowledge and come to the conclusion. That is called upamana. And the fourth one, sabda, verbal testimony. Learning from a trustworthy person. There was a crime and someone has witnessed a crime and whom you consider as a trustworthy person. You believe it. Okay, so that is called sabda. You believe your teacher when he says the earth goes around the sun because she is a reliable source. When the teacher says that earth revolves around the sun, we are believing. Why? Because we trust him. We trust that person. So these are the 4 pramanas suggested by the Navya school to identify the truth or the reality. So the Navya school is nothing but it is a school of logic and reasoning which was established by long ago the sage Gautama. Okay, the main aim of the Navya school is it is going to teach the students how to identify the truth behind it. And what are the pramanas it has been suggested? Prachaksha, Anumana, Upamana, and Sabda. So this is in brief about Navya school. Second school in the ancient times is Vaisheshika school. It believes in understanding the world into small pieces. So Vaisheshika school always try to suggest that don't try to understand the universe as a single entity. Rather, you need to divide the world or the universe into small pieces and you need to study that in the form of atoms. Every piece you need to consider that as an atom. And they believe that atoms are eternals. They never die. And you have to study them in the form of atoms. And it was established by, says, Canada. And who taught this system? He said that the whole world can be explained by putting things into different groups. And by knowing that everything is made of teeny and invisible atoms, the world is created with atoms. And it won't consider the world as a single entity. Rather, all the world, the total world has been created with the mixing of atoms, with the amalgamation of atoms. So you need to study the world into different parts and bits to understand it in a better way. When something is destroyed, but atoms remains eternal. Form may be destroyed, but we can create another form by using atoms. I have given an example of a broken toy. A toy core was made with a plastic. So the plastic pieces are related to atoms. But after using it for a while, the toy was broken. So that means the shape of the core was gone. But the plastic pieces still remains. That is nothing but atom can remain. So whatever the plastic pieces are there, we can recycle them and we can create a new object. Maybe it can be a cup, a plastic cup. So that is what the belief of Vaisheshika school. Atoms are eternal. They never die. Shape may be destroyed, but atom is eternal. So if you want to study the world, you have to study the world into bits and pieces. The world is created with full of atoms. It is not a single entity. That is what the Vaisheshika school believe. And the third one is Samkhya school. What is Samkhya school? It was proposed by says Kapila. He said that the whole world is made up of two main things. What are the two main things according to says Kapila? Purusha, which means soul, a silent witness. It doesn't have any shape. It doesn't have shape. It doesn't have size. It doesn't have any form and color, which is eternal. It only experiences it. It doesn't do anything. It cannot perform any actions. It knows everything. It experiences everything. But it doesn't have any form and size and color. But it can experience and which remains eternal. It simply knows, sees, and it is aware of what is happening. Prakriti, it means nature and material. That means we can touch it. It has a form. It has a size. All matter and energy in this universe is considered as Prakriti. All materials. It can be the body of the human. It can be the mind, emotions, trees, rivers, planets. Every material object on this earth can be considered as Prakriti. It can move. It can change its forms. But it is not fixed. It can be changed. So the Samkhya school always believed that. Samkhya school always believed that soul can't do anything without the body, but it can only witness what is happening. Body has not life without the soul. That means what Samkhya school believes. Both are relying on each other. Both are depending on each other. If they want to live in this world, both are needed. That is what Samkhya school believes. Okay, it believes on Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha means it is a soul which is eternal. It doesn't have any form, size, and color. And Prakriti is nothing but nature and material. It can change its forms like a body. It can be destroyed. It can be modified. So whenever Purusha and Prakriti are coming together, then only we can live happily in this universe. That is what Sankhya school always suggests. And the fourth one is yoga, a school of yoga, which talks about discipline and liberation. The yoga school is one of the six main schools in Indian philosophy. We have already discussed what is the significance of yoga in the previous lectures also. It was started by says Patanjali, who has written the famous book Yoga Sutras. What is the importance of yoga? It keeps our body healthy. It keeps our mind calm. It helps us to live without having any stress and brings happiness and self-control. That is the significance of yoga school. It brings the happiness. It brings the peace. It brings the healthy life. That is what the philosophy of yoga school. 8 steps of yoga, which means Ashtanga yoga, has suggested by says Patanjali. Okay, which helps us to achieve our goal. What are the 8 steps? Yama, which talks about good behavior towards others. Niyama, it talks about good habits of ourselves. That means it is also our responsibility to make our body clean and self-control. And the third one is asana, the different body poses which are essential for having a good health. Pranayama, which talks about breathing exercises, which helps us for proper and healthy respiratory system. Pratyahara, controlling our senses. Whatever the 5 senses are there, which helps us to have a control over 5 senses. Because if there is a delicious food, actually, if you are going to eat it unnecessarily, then it leads to obesity. So you should have a control over your senses. It teaches. The yoga teaches. And dharana, focusing on mind. You should have a control over your mind. You should focus on your mind. For example, when you are preparing for your examination, you should not deviate from that, from your preparation. While you are preparing for your exams, you should not watch the TV in the middle. That is called dharana. Dhyana, which means meditation, which gives calm mind and focused mind. And samadhi, a deep peace and unity with God. That means finally you are going to mix with the God, which gives eternal peace. So this is what yoga suggests, the school of yoga. And what is the school of Purva Mimamsa, which talks about rituals and dharma? And it was established and proposed by Rishi Jaimani, was an ancient Indian sage and philosopher who founded the Purva Mimamsa school of philosophy. And he was a founder. It mainly teaches us about dharma, doing right things in our life, as taught in Vedas. So the Purva Mimamsa school, it teaches about Vedas, how to lead a truthful life, a rightful life, how to lead a righteous living. It always says, if we do our duties correctly, we get good results. That is what Purva Mimamsa school always suggests. So it is a responsibility of every person to do the right things so that the results also will be good. And it leads to punya. So for example, if you are helping others with plain heart, without expecting anything, that leads to punya. If someone is suffering, actually, if you have stretched your helping heart to that particular person, okay, if you have helped to come out of that particular problem to that particular person, and you get some punya. That is what Purva Mimamsa school always teaches. It teaches about Vedas. Dharma is not only about worship, it also means being truthful, helping others, and following others. Following the rules. Whatever the rules are there, which were destined by the nature, ordered by the nature, we need to strictly follow that. That we call it as Rita in the previous lectures also. Rita means a right way of living, the order of the nature. We have to follow that. We should not violate it. If the nature suggests that don't do that, you should not do it. If you violate it, it leads to many issues. So whatever the order of the nature is there, whatever the right living is there, we need to follow that. That is what dharma. So dharma is not just worshipping God. Leading a righteous life is also dharma. By doing rituals like yagnas, fire worship with respect, we please the gods and bring peace, rain, happiness to the world. So through yagnas, actually, we are pleasing the God to provide the rainwater, to provide happiness and peace to the world. So it is a kind of a gratitude we are giving to the God and nature by doing some yagnas and pujas. That is what Purva Mimamsa school always suggests. Taking care of parents, it is a responsibility of children. That is called dharma. Respect the teachers. It is a prayer responsibility of the students. We call it as dharma. Helping mother in the kitchen is also called dharma. So this is what the Purva Mimamsa school always suggests. And the sixth one is the school of Vedanta. It is a school of metaphysics and ultimate truth. The Vedanta school of ancient Indian philosophy is generally attributed to says Vyasa. That means the school was proposed by the says Vyasa because he wrote Brahma Sutras, which are also called Vedanta Sutras, which form the main text of Vedanta, which helps us to build the main text called Vedanta. So what are the key features of Vedanta school? Vedanta school always says that Atma is pure, peaceful, and eternal. It believes in Atma. Nothing is permanent in this world. Only soul is permanent. Only God is permanent. So the external luxuries, which are not permanent, don't get attracted towards them. Believe the God, believe the nature, do the righteous things. That is what Vedanta school says. Our body is also not permanent. One day it will destroy. So that don't give much importance to body. Or don't give much importance to the external pleasures. Give importance to your soul. Give importance to the God and nature. That is what Vedanta school always says. The world we see is temporary, but our soul is always eternal and permanent. The main goal of life is to know God and understand the God, and the soul are connected. The main aim of the Vedanta school is identify the God. Find the God. Find the truth in the God. That is what Vedanta school always suggests. So in such a way, there are 6 schools have been suggested by our ancestors. Every school has its own significance.